What I wanted to talk to you about is something that I get from your time and also from your sound, your feel. It's weird to say that, but it feels very alive. You know, you're not just hitting a skin and it makes a sound. It's very lively, and the same thing with your time. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking about how, I think it was last night, in a delirious state of not being able to sleep, but I was thinking about keeping time, like with someone like Brad. It's like if I'm playing a ballad, that beat one has this energy all the way until it gets to beat two, and then that has all the energy that, so it's like, it's just crucial that that sense of time or that beat or whatever, that place that I'm traveling through, is really, really upheld in an intense way.
Mm-hmm.
You
But
know,
how do you do that?
I just give it as much focus as possible. You know, I'm just paying attention as much as possible. Really, really, it's just, you can't take your eye off of it. You know, and so it's amazing what the mind can do. You know, we can multitask. So I know I'm at the bridge. I know I'm at the last day. I know if people are doing this, I know that I'm doing this. But still, there's this other element of no weak spot between here and to there. You know, there's no turning away from it or being distracted at all. You know, it's all, 120% all the way from one to the next. And I think some of that came from Ray Charles. Some of that came from when I was playing with Buddy Montgomery. There's a nice time I had with him when we were playing Misty, and it was in a hotel, Parker Meridian in New York. And I'm playing, and he leans over and he says, Jeff. And he says, I can get somebody else to play with me if you don't want to play.
Wow. While playing.
While we were playing. So basically, I was just watching the people walking by, and we're playing Misty. And he felt it. He just felt there was no energy there. So he says, I need 120%. I need everything all the time. So a couple of big spanks like that were very profound for me.
Yeah.
Being present, being there, and holding on and not letting go to that kind of an energy. So if you pay attention to it all the way through, it's alive, like you're saying, I'm guessing. It's got this kind of energy to it that I'm giving to it. I definitely am very occupied with that kind of thing. I really don't like it when it kind of sags.
Oh, yeah. It's a weird feeling.
It's something that I'm allergic to, So I'll immediately snap it up in some way or another. That's important to me. But I tell you one thing, for as far as sound and like beat and things like that, about 15 years ago, I stumbled on something. For the longest time, I'm playing, okay, I could swing fine. I played a lot to Count Basie records, and I could swing. It was really not a thing. But when I was trying to play some funk, I didn't have a pocket at all. I sounded like a corny jazz guy trying to play funk. There was no butt to it, no round seat to it at all. No pocket, really, or it was a weak one. And then I also noticed if I'm striking something, there's this little hint of a hesitation, a resistance of some sort.
Yeah.
So for years, I knew that was there, and I just kind of felt like,
That hesitation point, did you notice that through watching a video or
No,
experiencing sensation while playing?
Yeah.
But there's
not so much on the swing, boom, tack, ting, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
That I didn't have. That was, I could swing and fit in that. But if it was some sort of funk, or even I was playing a lot of Latino music, some Afro-Cuban stuff, and it was okay, but it was there. There was some sort of a resistance. I found out later that's because I'm trying to place it, I'm trying to put it somewhere. And so if you're trying to put it somewhere, there's a bit too much mind in a way. There's the connect between here and here.
Too slow then.
It's too slow, right on. I'm always wondered, like, what the heck, and I'm tapping along on the car door to some Stevie Wonder, and I look at my arms, man, that looks so terrible, It just doesn't, I noticed this, well, there's that feeling, and I looked at it, and it was just horrible. No dance, no good move at all. So, of course, the first thing I did was I started hitting it harder, Okay, so it got a little more solid, but still there was that resistance, So I'm watching Elvin Jones count off a tune from the other side of the club. I'm sitting at the other side of the club, and he's counting off a tune with his heel on the hi-hat. And I felt that in my chair. You know, I felt that travel across the floor. I swear to God. I mean, it was incredible, you know.
Yeah.
So he just cut through that thing, you know, or the hi hat would go click, shit, you know, go
Yeah.
click, you know. I saw a buddy of mine, Jimmy Green, great saxophone player. Yeah, he's clapping, you know, and it was like two trees colliding, you know, unstoppable. I saw Brian Blade. He played something where he went around the set. And it's just, you know, goo 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 boom, you know, back boom, 4 and a 1, you know. And well, there it is too, man. It's there. I see that. I see it, you know. Finally, I see this video by Tony Williams. I think it's in Texas, and he's got the yellow drum set, the
Yeah.
matching jumpsuit.
Jumpsuit. Yeah.
Yeah. And he talks about what's the hardest thing about playing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he says picking up the stick because you're fighting gravity. Letting it fall down is a ride. And it goes bing. So I spent the next 2 years trying to sort that out, you know. And basically, it's super hard to let go and let your arm fall down.
Yeah.
You know? So it is the hardest part. So right now, my arm is dead. Yeah? It's dead. So picking it up is hard.
Yeah.
But so immediately, you know, you have to let go of all the tension. It's coming out of this tendon here, right? So that flickers, picks your arm up, but then you've let go again. So this is just inertia. It's just flying up, and then back, it falls down. Man, you couldn't stop me from practice. I mean, I was never a big practicer. I really enjoy it now, but then was man, it was perfect for me.
Yeah.
There were so many things, you know. I had gone through issues with my wrists and my posture and a lot of stuff.
I'm smiling, man, because around the same time, the same thing happened to me. my teacher showed me a way to overcome tendonitis, and grounded my whole technique in relaxation of the arm and using the natural body weight of the arm. You know,
that's my preach right there,
yeah,
man. That's what I say.
beautiful. And it's
Yeah,
it's
man,
always so great to see that in different people with different journeys to the same solution, right?
yes,
And
sir.
his thing was always about finding different mindsets to arrive at to remind yourself of how heavy your arm actually is. And he was one thing that I always have in mind is because your sound gets so much bigger when you're doing it.
Unbelievable.
And he told me that the guys who do karate and hit through wood, you know, they imagine their arm is like meters long, like 10 meters long. And then he asked me like, okay, imagine if your arm is 10 meters long, try to lift it. Try to lift it. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, come on, man, be serious. Be serious. If it's 10 meters long, you can't lift it, but try to fight it and lift it. And then after a while, you know, also when your arm is asleep, you're lying on your arm and you realize like, oh shit, this is super heavy.
Exactly. But it's just what I teach everybody. I mean, this is a big thing for me, and if they're ready for it, okay. If they're not ready for it, I can't force them too much. I try to force them for a bit, but most of the guys, if they're in their 20s, they're not ready for it. You know, they haven't hit that quiet place yet, because you got to be quiet for this. You know, but you know, it's like holding it like this, and let it fall, or you know, you have just underneath, you pick it up, or you get a string, you tie it around something, and you pull it up. You know, any kind of way to divorce yourself from your limb. But my big point I stress for this is, it's not that you can do it. The question is, what does it feel like? What did that just feel like? So it's starting to talk to you instead of you're saying, oh, okay, this is it, I'm doing it. I'd much prefer the receiving the information than telling the information. And in that sense, even with my legs and with my arms, it's what did that feel like? Okay. And I don't need a long paper on that feeling. I just, what does it feel like?
Yeah.
Physically, and then translating it musically. How did that feel? What did that feel like? What did that feel like? You know, just do that really slow. It's like lifting weights, you know? Whoop, bam. What did that feel like? You chew on it. You chew on it. Okay, next, do it again. What did that feel like?
Save the feeling, right? That you can access it.
Exactly. You're reprogramming your cellular memory. For me, it was like 20 years of playing this one way where I was completely controlling all the time. And so now I needed to reprogram. So another very important aspect was, irregularity. It had to be every day, Didn't have to be for hours and hours, but it had to be every day where you go in and you visit that place so you can access it much more readily. Man, it just changed up so much. The way I sat was my left leg was farther back, my right leg was farther forward. So basically, my lower half was facing this way, and the rest of the drums were facing straight ahead. So I was twisted. A lot of drummers do that. They get right behind the bass drum, the ability with the right foot, but then the poor left foot is kind of crushed back, and then okay, if you get hit the floor tom, you're already twisting. you know. So all this body awareness, because it was like a magnifying glass, on every aspect. You do the same thing. If I pick up my arm and my leg at the same time, they come down at different times because my leg is more heavy than my arm. So then, if I want them to come down at the same time, without my controlling it, the only control I have is when I start it, right? So I'll start my arm, and just as it's coming down, I'll lift up my leg and let that, and then they'll meet.
Yeah.
It's another kind of independence in a way. So all of that, straightened me out. It opened my thing up, made the sound better, made my articulation much better. Ultimately, it got that pocket. It got this fatter backbeat thing to it. So like you said, the sound gets bigger. With the drums, I'm sure with every instrument, but there's just more harmonics, more overtones. The shell resonates, the bottom head resonates even more. All of that.
And it's less work in the end.
It's so much less work. God, yeah, yeah. And the balance, what I ended up doing was playing eighth note triplets, and then on beat 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, I would lift up my arm a little higher. But the tempo was like 10 or 15 beats per minute. Very, 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 very slow.
Wow.
So you go bang, and then that's the second triplet. And it's the second triplet, or third triplet. And then boom, right? The sense of lifting weight and moving it around and what it does to your body's balance was revolutionary for me. It was huge. It was huge for me. It took care of a lot of my bad habits, a lot of bad habits. And now when they kind of come around, if there's something that doesn't really work in that correct way physically, the alarms sound, and I'll say, oh, basically it's just relax.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it something that your peers then noticed in you? Like, hey man, you're doing something different? Or was it also something that you were vocal about with the people you were working with? Or did you have to figure it out on your own?
Definitely figured out my own. Often through teaching, I'm asked, is this right? And there aren't those answers, in this kind of music. There isn't that kind of, it's a bigger, longer dialogue with yourself and your music. It's a different thing. But this thing I can say is a golden tool. I gotta say, it's a really great way. It's a great practice, if you practice this way. I made it into a huge practice. I want it to be a 360-degree application, and so I just picked triplets because that's alternating. Had this all basic natural law to it. If you've got one side and you've got another side, and you give a rhythm of 3, then alternation occurs in that
Naturally,
way.
yeah.
Right. So yeah, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, but if you go 1, 2, 3, it's got some other
it's moving
activity.
around.
Yeah. So I'm a gradual kind of growing guy. It was natural and easy for me at the very beginning. And then I hit these walls, and I had some regrouping to do. So I think it's just kind of a long climb, which I'm happy about. That's fine, as long as it's moving along.
Yeah. But now, how is it when you listen back to old recordings?
I miss some stuff. I miss some stuff when I listen back. I miss some of this, I don't know, dangerous, uncaring fire kind of thing. And, what I've mellowed with more efficient moves and ergonomic play. And sometimes I feel like, some of that spark that was youthful, isn't there. But most of the time, I much prefer this more profound statement than this kind of crazy Yahoo. Let's go for it. But that's kind of what Fairgrounds was also allowing to happen too, if I wanted it.
Yeah, but also in your own music, you kind of, it seems to me now, having heard this story, it's a more conscious thing to go in that pocket direction at times, you know, to really enjoy
Yeah,
that feeling.
I enjoy it so much now. It's a body thing and it's dancing and there's more to it now. It's not just a cerebral idea. You know, it's not just an idea now. It's the groove is taking on a form, you know, a physical form.
Yeah.
And the same with whatever now. And if I want it to be a more of a rigid kind of feeling, I can do that too, right? Because we're not going to always play, you know, with this kind of. I mean, you could have a beat that's got a bottom like this, or you've got a beat that's like this too, right? It's going tack,
Yeah.
tack, you know. So it depends. But now I've got this other thing for the arsenal, you know.
Yeah. Later on, maybe, did you talk to your drumming peers about that and their thoughts about that and how they approached it?
Yeah, if anybody's interested, I'm going to start laying this on them actually because it would change me up forever. Let's see. I was talking with Obed about this, and he was super honored to hear it and get it. You know, and he said he's going to go into it too. Nate Wood wants to talk about it. We're going to do a little Skype chat and talk about this kind of thing because a student of mine was talking with him and showing him what was going on. And
Yeah.
but younger guys, I'll preface it and saying, you know, look, man, I'd like to show you something. I think it'll help you if you're into it. You know. Yeah, it's really great, man. It's super great, as you know. It's super great. I mean, to get someone to just rest their arm in your hand is a work already. You know, so
Yeah.
no, let it go, let it go. No, if I take my hand away, your arm's gonna stay up there.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
True. I've noticed people always talk about warming up before a concert. And my warming up is just walking to the concert and trying to feel how heavy my arms are. You know, you're walking from the hotel to the venue and all you're doing is just, oh man, they're so heavy. And then you go to the instrument and you can just let go after that, you know?
Yeah. I think so many muscles and ligaments and supporting tendons and all are activating, you know, when we do that. They can let go or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're warming up. Yeah, they're being activated, you know. I mean, the thing is, man, it's like an event when it happens, you know. If you're going to pick up and come down, it's an event. Man, it takes that much time to happen, right? So things are moving in this big, profound way. So tempo, you know, everything is moving in this bigger sense. It's more of an eventful thing than just superficial. Like I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. No, man, this feels like this, and it's leading to this. It's all connected with the physicality, which is, you know, I think it's a huge element in our music, which more and more, you know, it's not being recognized or accentuated, you know. I mean, you don't get it on a record. You don't get it, really. You don't get it at all. You don't get the feeling the air's moved, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
And this is this is huge. It's huge. You know, people talk about sound and yeah, what is sound, you know? It's that air, right? Moving around. So for me, it was the biggest change happened when I was about 40.
Wow.
So
yeah, it's
and it was
beautiful.
really ready. You know, it was ready. I had you know, like I said, problems with my wrist and just I was used to play like this a lot. You know, if you see some old video.
Yeah, I saw videos.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you're relying on your body weight of your arms, you can sit like this because you're lifting them already. If you're letting go, you're sitting like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard this interview with somebody talked about working with Robert De Niro, and you said the biggest thing is to really know how every muscle in your face works in order to be conscious about it, and then you can start acting, you know.
Wow.
You know, that comes to all the lessons about listening, you know, but the physicality of acting, to getting very, very conscious about your whole, you know, apparatus, you know.
Yes, sir.
And the same thing for us in a way.
Yeah. Ah, interesting. I like that.
You talked about Larry before. I want to know a little bit about your relationship and how you work together. Do you go through phases of working on particular stuff while on tour, or is it something that goes more natural and more unconscious?
Yeah, it's definitely that. It's just more matter of fact.
Mm.
The only times we've ever worked on something was back in the early 90s in New York. He came over to the house and was talking about playing 2 and 4 on a hi-hat, how that was making it feel, and if I played quarter notes on the hi-hat, and kind of differences of what it felt like with different beats, you know? And that was the only time that we really worked on something.
Mm.
When we were teaching together, we were trying to give a demonstration of how one would be on top of the beat while the other one's behind the beat, or vice versa, right? But we just couldn't do it. We kept crossing each other up, you know. So our thing is much better unspoken,
Mm.
you know, how we deal with stuff.
Mm.
I mean, he's my oldest friend, you know.
Yeah.
I've known him forever, 35 years or so we've been playing. And he's taught me a hell of a lot, you know.
Mm.
He's a young man, not so young anymore, but he's got an old spirit.
Mm.
He's
Can
very
you talk
wise.
about some of the stuff you learned from him?
You know, I think there's some things in playing, you know, like the gravity of playing, you know, not the weight of it, but the seriousness of it, the totality of it, you know, how it's just everything. When it's going on, everything is being absorbed and heard, you know. That kind of big ear, head, you know, it's like one big brain with an ear attached to it, you know. That was huge for me. Also, a variety of genre as well. You know, when I went over to his house, he says, "Man, come over, I'm going to show you something." And he's playing me Dream of the Blue Turtles, was it? That Sting record?
Mm-hmm.
Bring on the Night.
Yeah.
He turned me on to that. Turned me on to some Weather Report, which I didn't really have too much contact with.
Mm.
But this was like early 80s. He opened me up to that. He gave me Mahler's Ninth, gave me Word of Mouth.
Wow.
So musical stuff he opened up to me, you know, with different styles of stuff. But I think the most precious for me is the seriousness of it, but that it's actuated, you know. It's not just, you know, oh, you know, high respect to the music. No, it's just like you meet it. You bring this intensity to it, and it's everything, and it's always going on, always
Mm.
going on. He's incredible, man. He's incredible. I mean, he's a massive student of the music. You know,
Mm.
he's still like he'll send me every now and then. He'll send me some videos, some interviews of Louis Hayes or Max Roach or
Yeah.
Philly Joe Jones, or he sends me some excerpts from a book he's reading, which is, you know, the history of Blue Note records. He's been surfing on YouTube, finding, you know, the most way out shit that, you know, never. So that kind of focus and attention to it was huge.
Mm.
He also opened me up in a big way to the world of literature as well.
Mm.
So that was
Great.
a big one too. I loved reading, but he brought it to a little more intense place. He'd introduced me to someone like a French writer called Georges Perec, as part of a group that Italo Calvino was a part of as well. You know, this is an Italian writer.
No.
Calvino was Italian, Perec French, and they were part of a group called Olipo,
Mm-hmm.
which is standing for Exploring the Potentials in Literature. And it's a French group,
Mm-hmm.
and they just do crazy things like Calvino wrote a story using tarot cards as a way to make the story move along. And this guy Perec, he wrote a book without using words that have the letter E in it.
Sure.
Right?
Well, we should try that in German.
Man,
That's hard.
he wrote it in French, and then someone from the same group translated it into English.
With the same concept.
The same
Wow.
concept.
Wow.
And then he wrote another. I mean, it was a nice book. It was called Avoid. And it was
Avoid or avoid,
a void.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the story is about someone who's disappeared. Of course, it's a mystery. Then he wrote another book using words that only had the letter E in it, which was much smaller. But
Sure, yeah.
the bicycle theft or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, for me, a big one that we got into was Henry Miller and Burroughs, and there's just so many.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah.
I want to talk to you about Chick, how it was to work with Chick, and lessons you've learned from him, and how you got to play with him, and what stuff you always go back to when you listen back or when you think back on the time you worked with him, like stuff that you got out of him that you're still utilizing.
Yeah, well, the biggest one for me was having the sound on the stage. When we were playing with the sextet with the Origin, he really didn't want monitors being used.
For
You know,
everyone.
for everyone.
Yeah.
but he was so far away that I did need a little bit of piano in there.
Mm.
So what I do, and I do it to this day, is I have just as much of piano here as I can hear from here. So it's a little on one side,
Yeah.
a little on this side. So it's still fairly acoustic.
Yeah,
You know?
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the rest is if I can't hear the sounds, then I'm too loud. You know.
Mm.
So the big lesson for me was realizing that level of sound wasn't like mezzo forte is like 3 or 3.5. You know, it was volume was a measurement of filling up space, just like liquid.
Mm.
So I'm thinking in terms of how much space is being filled up. So it's not necessarily loud either. It could be that being very busy fills up a lot of space.
Mm.
So then you can't hear,
It's true, yeah.
So that was huge. That was super huge for me. You know, one accent goes a long way. There was some funny stuff. He said at one point near the beginning there when I first started playing, he pulled me aside. He says, "You man, sounds cool, man. Hey man, can you give me some more kanas?" He's
Some more
talking
what?
about kanas.
Connors.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, yeah, man, some kanas, please. You know, because Elvin, Roy, they give me some kanas too. On and a 4 after 8 bars. And what he's saying is corners, but with a Boston accent. I'm thinking like Jimmy
Connors.
Connors, the
Yeah.
tennis player,
Yeah.
So what he needed was to feel some sort of security in a way. I think that I'm hearing and I'm doing what he's asking, but I'm not because I'm coming from playing with Kurt and just open free playing with a lot of different guys, and I'm not worried about making 8-bar phrases. I kind of skipped. I went from big band to just like whatever. And so I think that I didn't have a good handle on phrasal structures in a way, phrasal playing,
And it kind of
playing.
gives an architecture to the song more, right?
It really
Yeah.
does. It really, really does. So to be so on it, that's also not so great. But to lack it, to not have it enough, you need it. You
Mm-hmm.
need it. I'm a big believer of that. So that was big as well. And one thing I'll never forget is that when we play with it could happen to you. Every time we play that, he'd do an intro, and every single time it was different. And so over 4 years of playing the same stuff for 3 years, I'm with Steve Wilson, and got to the point of like we just look at each other, say, man, it's still different. Another one's different. One time it's Fats Waller. One time it's playing inside the piano.
Yeah.
Even before his butt hits the bench, he's already playing the thing. So I think he just kind of jumps and deals with the fall as he's falling.
Mm.
So I really like that a lot. I like that a lot. So there's a few
Yeah.
things like that really, really was cool. I had
What?
a good time with him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
6 years was really good.
It sounds like it. It sounds
Yeah.
like it. Why do you think the flat ride fits him so well? Is it because we know it so well from Now He Sings, Now He Sobs, or is it something about that particular sound that makes, I don't know.
Yeah. I think part of it is our imposing that on, but he asked me to play it. He had Zildjian make a batch of them, so I had a couple, and he asked me to use it as part of my set.
So
So
he must have an idea about that. It really sounds good with him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think it matches his attack, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And it doesn't get in the way also, I think.
Right.
It's very, very
The
clear
bell,
sound.
he was telling me like that bell is just going bing, 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 bing.
Mm-hmm. But it's also ruthless. I mean, if somebody can't play, it's noticeable, right away on a flat ride because it's
Totally. Ruthless
doesn't
is a great word for it.
it doesn't cover up anything.
You got your bare bones beat right there.
Mm-hmm.
And if it ain't swinging, boy,
Yeah.
very obvious.
Yeah. Wow.
I couldn't use it in any other bands, though. I'll tell you.
You didn't?
No, I tried, and it just was not working.
Mm-hmm.
Not working. I think it really had something to do with his attack and the way he moves around on that.
Yeah. What are the things that you're checking out at the moment?
This book is killing me.
The Swing Years. Okay. Who wrote it?
This is guy Bert Corral.
Okay.
Drumming Men.
Yeah.
This
Great.
is killing me. Basically, it's a bunch of reminiscences from people that have played with Joe Jones and Baby Dodds and Sid Catlett and Chick Webb. And man, I mean, now I'm using this book to actually teach too.
In what way?
I read the stories and I talk about it, you know. Like, for instance, there's one where Roy Eldridge is talking about Joe Jones and how when they broke down to the rhythm section, just tipping along, how Joe Jones wouldn't play four on the floor on the bass drum, but he'd use the heel of his right foot and click that, you know. So immediately I heard a wooden stage, an old Ludwig bass drum beater, you know, bass drum pedal, and I heard that sound. I heard that sound. I know that sound. And that's exactly what was happening, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're reading words and memories of the second alto player in Jimmy Lunsford's band, you know, and you hear all these recordings and they're so anonymous, all this stuff, you know, because of the quality. And here you got guys talking about guys. It becomes more three-dimensional and personal. And I love it. I really recommend it to anybody. You know, that chair, the drummer's chair, in a way. I mean, you talk about huge evolution in the 30s. Huge, man.
Yeah.
And the big part of it was Chick Webb. You know, like almost him alone was huge. We wouldn't have Kenny Clark and Max Roach or Art Blakey without Chick, in a way. Something else would have happened, of course. But as I understand it from reading this thing, it's like Chick was the guy who decided to start playing along with the horn lines, like to accentuate the horns with the horns as well, which wasn't done hardly at all. If the drummers had anything, they do a splash at the end of the tune or something like that. You know? But to pick up and support the band with other things and other parts of the kit, or do a fill around the thing that would set up the. I mean, this was all like invented by this guy who died when he was like maybe 30 something.
Oh, great. I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Cool. Actually, it's something that is connected to Larry again. I'm wondering what you expect from a bassist.
Well, I mean, I want him to stand on his own. Do not come over on me and try to mirror my thing. You know, I don't want someone to, you know, try to be with me. I want that person to play the beat where they feel it, and I'm playing the beat where I feel it, and then we make this thing with that kind of difference, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I have to have, for sure. And I love it when, it doesn't have to happen, but I love it when he stops walking. You know, you can stop and, you know, or do whatever you're doing. You can stop. And Joe Sanders does that quite a bit. You know, we're playing along and all of a sudden, whoa, you stopped. And he's just got his bass, you know, he's like hanging out, like, yeah, go ahead, you know, kind of riding it, you know. I like that kind of disruptive thing, you know, because it keeps you on your toes or whatever. I don't know. So just that they're standalone, you know. That's with anybody, you know. If a saxophone player is like that, if they're leaning too much on me or leaning too much on the bass player or leaning too much on whoever, I don't know, bro. You got to stand up on your own. You know, we'll make much better music if you do that.
Yeah, being self-sufficient and still,
absolutely. And you add something to the mix instead of just ghosting it or hiding in the shadows or something like that.
Maybe you can highlight some more of your remembrances of seeing your idols, the people you looked up to that changed you. You know, I think we all have these go-to memories of special concerts that we saw where we learned a particular little thing that became a seed for something really, really big, you know?
Sure. An early one was seeing a drummer named Eddie Marshall, who was in San Francisco. He played with Bobby Hutcherson and Bobby McFerrin. His great-great-grandfather was Kaiser Marshall, who used to play with Fletcher Henderson.
Wow.
And he was the guy that is credited to making the hi-hat from being a sock cymbal to being an actual hi-hat, like building the machine that, as we know, the modern day hi-hat. He was a great drummer. So Eddie was coming out of the school of Tony, and I had never seen anybody like that, ever. There was a guy that was big in my life who was a piano player, Smith Dobson. And he would take me on Tuesdays, and I'd go and sit in and play his jazz gig, you know. And that was a great time, great lesson. And on Sundays at this same place, they'd have a jazz, someone that was playing in San Francisco, and they'd come down to this club, kind of part of a tour, right? So you could see Freddie Hubbard or, you know, whoever, right? And so I went down to go see Bobby Hutcherson. And Eddie Marshall was playing drums, man, and I had never seen four limbs moving like that. You know, just amazing, just amazing. He wasn't so technically proficient like Tony, but he had four limbs going on, and he had just that kind of dialogue going on. And that just lit my world. That was huge. It's like, wow, you could do it like that. I'd be coming out of big band and seeing Butch Miles was great, but it's kind of like a Buddy Rich thing, and that's all cool, but not my call. It's not calling me. So this was like, wow, that's some bad modern drumming there for me. I dig that. He was big for me, and another huge one for me was Donald Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Duck play was like my brain melted.
Yeah.
Really heavy, man.
Do you know this recording of him with Coltrane?
Donald Bailey and Train. Ethan just sent me something. Yeah.
It's pretty happening, huh?
It's pretty damn happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I forgot about that. Yeah, man. He's so unique, He had a snare drum that was like this, at an angle like that, and he'd play like this, His hi-hat was like underneath his knee. He was really like torqued up and that, and things were all bent out of shape. I have a big picture of him downstairs in my room. He's an idol of mine. The way his beat was like the funkiest, straight, flat out swing I'd ever heard. Like Billy swung with more of a swing than Duck. And Blackwell also had that flat out ticketing. Duck was just extreme in that. It was almost straight eighths, really.
Yeah.
And he had everything going on all at the same time. It's like,
can you explain that paradox? Like, why does it swing so hard when it's
I think if
even?
You try to play a bird melody and you try to swing it, it doesn't sound as good as if you just play it straight.
Yeah.
Right? So it's where the notes lie, the high and low note, Oopie-da, oopie-da, oopie, bo-pee-da,
Yeah.
Or the funkiness of it, ding, checka, ding, checka, bing, checka, bing, checka, checka, bing, ding, checka, bing. I mean, that's twigs. Dabba, 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 dabba. It's not da, 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 da. It's not short notes. They're long, legato. But I think inflection makes it do that.
Yeah.
Which is like all over the place, all over the little subtle nuance of inflection makes it happen. When we try to make it swing, very often it just is like,
yeah, it's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, you're being over dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just stupid. Duck is like if you're looking at the dryer, the clothes dryer, and you see these clothes going around. Sometimes they're bunched together, sometimes they're spread out, sometimes a big shirt comes across the middle. So all that stuff is what he plays.
Yeah.
But the hole that's in the center of that's his beat, that's his groove. It's deep, man. Like his 2 and 4 on the hi-hat is consistent all the time. But it's blended in with the kit somehow. I think blend is huge, I don't think we give it enough thought in a lot of ways, If you blend it, it's great. It can be perfect.
You mean blend within the set or blend within the ensemble?
In the set and as well in the ensemble, in the total thing of it all, Deep. It's really deep. So Duck, he's coming out of playing behind Carmen McRae for many years, or Jimmy Smith, or Hampton
What's your favorite recording of him?
Some of the Hampton Hawes stuff is good. But there's one that I really love. It's father and his daughter. It's her record. There's amazing cuts on there. I'll remember and I'll let you know. I'll think about it, and I will let you know for sure.
Oh yeah, great. Maybe I can put it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey man, I want to thank you for doing this. It's really great to talk to you.
Want to do it again? I'm totally down, man.
Wow.
Make it better. Yeah. No, I enjoy talking with you. It's great.
Cool. Same here.